G'day folks, I'm Wren, they, them, and I'm here to talk about some queer horror books. Alright, welcome back to another 5 Friday video. We're talking about queer horror books this time. I love me some horror, I love me some queer books, I love me some queer horror. I'm always on the lookout for more, so if you know of any, please leave them down below. I cannot wait to read any of your suggestions. But let's get started. So, if you don't like bugs in particular, then you should definitely read They Were Here Before Us by Eric LaRocca. There is some messed up bug stuff in here. These are kind of, I don't know if it's 5, but there's a few kind of like short stories in here. All of them are kind of about bugs, and you get the points of view from these bugs. Some of them were weird, but in like the best creepy way possible. And it is queer like all of Eric LaRocca's books, I believe. I don't know how to describe the queerness in this because I think there was a few different ones, but 100% is queer. But something else really beautiful about this is there's a lot of illustrations. Like, oh, look at this one. Is that not stunning? And like, they're kind of all throughout the book, and there's even just like tree branches everywhere as well. So it's a really good book to read physically. There was one in particular in here that has stayed with me for a really long time because it was the way that this one particular bug felt about love and how consuming someone can be love. It was a wild time. There are some really creepy little stories in here. And I mean, Eric LaRocca can kind of do no wrong for me at this point. Stuff is always so good. And next up is gonna be an obvious one because it's one of my favorite books of all time. But if you don't like rabbits, or if you don't like sleepwalking, then you should definitely read What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher. So good, one of my favorite books of all time. Oh, this was so good. So this is a retelling of The Fall of the House of Usher by Edgar Allan Poe. You do not have to read that to read this. So in this, we are following this person who is non-binary, which is freaking awesome. I love the description of it in here. It's really, really well done. And they have come to this house because their friend is sick, and they want to help in whatever way that they can. The sickness is a little odd. Then the rabbits around this estate start acting really friggin' weird. Everything is very kind of ominous, and it almost has like a gothic-ish vibe to it. So if you like that, this is a good one too, especially because it's nice and short. There is some really great atmosphere in this, and really cool characters, and a really interesting, horrifying moments. And this definitely made me a little bit wary of rabbits. Not gonna lie. It also has one of my favorite things, which is shroom horror. You know, I love me some shrooms. So this has that as well. And it's a good time. It's a good little creepy time. Ooh, next up, if you don't like body horror, abnormal growths, and anything to do with religion, Hell Followed With Us by Andrew Joseph White. This was so good. Also so disgusting. I loved it. So we are following a trans main character, and he has kind of escaped this cult in a way, very heavily religious cult. And he's escaped, and he's now kind of-ish been captured by this like ragtag group of queers that have kind of survived a bit of an apocalypse that has happened. He's really struggling to come to terms with the fact that there was a reason he was in this cult, a very important reason. That reason didn't stop being a reason just because he left. That's how I'm going to describe that. So there is some really interesting kind of creatures in this, and definitely some body horror moments more towards the end. But this does talk a lot about religious trauma stuff, so be aware of that. It really messed me up, but in a good way, I promise. We also have a autistic side character, which was really awesome. Love to see it. And we do get a lot of trans issues being talked about in this as well. again, love to see it. But this is definitely more dystopian type horror. I don't usually like dystopias, but this one, pretty good. Ooh, if you don't like the forest, if you don't like the fear of not being in control, and also mild body horror, you should read House of Hollow by Crystal Sutherland. I love this book. So we're following a bisexual main character. We also have a lesbian side character who's pretty main to the plot of the story. And in this, we are following 3 sisters, but one of them has disappeared. So the other 2 are trying to find her. And it has something to do with when they were younger, all 3 of them went missing, but they came back. But they came back a little different. So the new disappearance is tied to the old one. And the descriptions in this of a decaying forest, phenomenal. Oh my God. I love me a good decaying forest. What can I say? And this, perfect for that. They are kind of going on a bit of a quest thing. There is a lot of travel in this, and a lot of secrets being revealed, and powers that these people might have, and the implications of that. And definitely there is some body-ish horror, not as much as Hell Followed With Us, but in this it is a more subtle body horror and has to do with that forest feel and the forest coming from within in a way. This is a really, really great story. I loved the bisexual rep as well. That was really well done. And I loved how the atmosphere really sucks you in. Like, you are there with these characters and it is a good time. Last up, if you don't like tight spaces or being on your own, then you should read The Luminous Dead by Caitlin Starling. Oh my gosh, I loved this. This was one of the few books that has ever made me actually tense up and like actually feel the anxiety that the character is feeling. Oh, it was good. So it's not like a typical horror gore. There's no gore in this, but it really talks about that kind of claustrophobia kind of thing. Because in this we have a cave explorer who is really desperate for a job, but she doesn't have exactly the right qualifications, so she takes up a sketchy job offer. To go into some of these caves, you have to have a lot of surgery on yourself to be able to use the suits that they use in these caves, because they're unexplored. You know, there could be a whole lot of dangers, so slightly futuristic, you know, they've come up with these suits to help humans survive. But you have to have a whole lot of surgery before you can get into these suits so that they can sustain your life. She goes about that in a kind of dodgy way as well. And then once she is in this cave, she is exploring it for, you know, her employer, and her employer is actually speaking to her through like a kind of phone connection. But no one knows that this cave diver is down there. No one but their employer. There is nobody else in the room with the employer. It is just them. They're not going to send help if something happens. And that in itself is a terrifying feeling, because this cave explorer knows that. They know that they're on their own. They've got no one else but the person on the other end of the phone, who they don't even know that if they can trust. Super creepy atmosphere to be in. And then the way that this book talks about being in these suits, because you're in them for a really long time, and how that just messes with your head. Oh, it's so good. And yeah, definitely had me feeling all kinds of anxious just reading this. So this was such a good horror. And the queer rep in this is that the cave explorer and their employer are both females, and they do develop feelings for one another, however complicated they may be throughout this book. So it is definitely queer as well as being very creepy. So there we have it. There is my 5 queer horror recommendations for you. If you've read any of these, please let me know. I would love to hear your thoughts. And if you know of any more queer horror, like I said, put it down below. I am always looking for recommendations. But thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.